everybody, and welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. Today we got some breaking news, and I don't know, for some people it's not really breaking news, but it broke yesterday is when I found both articles, and one was an interview, and I posted them both on my personal Facebook page, so Jerry Ward on Facebook. If you're friends with me, then I have the page open so anybody can see it. It's not like I have things locked down that nobody can see. My life is like an open book, so it's on there. And it's about steroids, and it's about CrossFit and steroids, and Ken Shamrock, the world's most dangerous man, former UFC champion, former, I believe it was Pancrase champion, Pride champion. I mean, he was the man back in the day. He was like one of the first ones to beat the Gracies in the UFC at their own game. He went out to be a WWE superstar. I definitely, looked up to Ken as far as the way he carried himself. I met him before. Not the biggest guy in person, but he had this energy when you kind of got near him. He was like, it was kind of like you're standing next to a lion that's just kind of hanging out. Like, the lion's not hungry. Lion doesn't want to hurt anybody, but he's just standing there and has this electricity about him that anytime, he can snap and kill you. I mean, plain and simple. And he just has that mashed-in face that looks like he's been hit in the face by a Mack truck. And you just look at him and you're like, Jesus, man, this guy, he can really fucking tune me up quick and not even pay attention to, anything. So, he did an interview that basically came out and said he used steroids in the past, but he never used them when he went into a fight. He was never on steroids when he went to a fight. Now, I was listening to his wording, to what he was saying, and he never said, I was completely clean for 6 months before I went into a fight. He never said anything like that. He never said I was completely off everything. He said I wasn't on steroids when I went into a fight. Now, and he also said about the testing, you can get around the testing very easily if you have enough money. So a lot of these UFC guys that are going, the great physiques that are, holding all this muscle mass and being lean, some of the guys don't look that very good at all. So you're like, are they taking something? Are they not? Are they taking just something for performance that's not going to really show in their physiques? Chris Lieberman, who, everybody knows him, he's a great fighter, good with his hands, had the best fight of his life and tested positive for Winstrol not long after, a couple days after. He didn't look any different. He didn't look any better, but he had a great fight. So some of these things are not going to show the telltale signs on the person's physique like, it would for a bodybuilder or something. So listening to Ken's wording, what I got from him was, and this is just my personal opinion, I think what he did, I think he would use the steroids to train during his fight, and then a certain period of time he would come off them and go on like a PCT, which high enough PCT will maintain muscle mass, maintain performance, maintain speed, maintain recovery, but you're not technically on any steroids going into the fight. Excuse me. Allergies kill me. Come back from Mexico whacked with allergies. So technically you're not on anything steroid-wise, but you're on things like HCG and Clomid and Novadex and growth hormone and maybe even insulin that are technically not steroids, but they're still keeping your body at this level as opposed to going back down to this level when you really went off all the gear. And on top of that, he's saying these other guys have enough money to beat the tests. Well, there's all these new designer steroids that you can't even test for the steroid or the metabolite that are these pro steroids or pro hormones that these guys are taking that they'll never test positive for. So it's like a game of cat and mouse. Wherever you have a sport that has a payday at it, or even a sport that has bragging rights, whatever, you're going to have people that are going to want the edge and look for that edge and try to find it no matter what. And, that's not going to change. So testing methods, etc., may be getting better, but I don't see that curtailing anything that's going on in MMA or pro fighting or anything like that. The second thing we were talking about was the report or blog or story. It's written by Anthony Roberts and John Romano. No, I didn't read the report about CrossFit and steroids because I don't give a fuck about it. It doesn't matter to me. I don't damn CrossFit. I know that some people CrossFit is good for because it gets them off their ass and gets them in their gym training, and that's great. Okay, I'm all for people being active, and it doesn't bother me when people try to jam the CrossFit down your throat because they love it. Fine, you love it. What I do not like is the fact that CrossFit is such a cult that they do not think that you're up to par. You're up to their speed unless you do CrossFit. That kind of pisses me off. But bottom line was, I don't give a fuck enough about CrossFit to read the article. But John Romano and Anthony Roberts, their names hold a lot of water with me. They've been around a long time. They are factual. Like Anthony Roberts said, he was actually, Dan Duchesne was his guru. These guys have been around a long time, worked with a lot of athletes on a high level, And a lot of them are using drugs, if not all of them. Okay, so as soon as I saw these guys wrote this article, I said, all right, I'm going to read this article because this is the real deal. These guys have a reputation. I believe what they say, period. Read the article, and he flat out, it's $250,000 on the line for this CrossFit Championships. That's the same amount that Mr. Olympia gets paid. So you're trying to tell me all this time everybody thought these people were natural and they thought they were clean, and they're competing for $250,000? Of course drugs are going to be involved. Now, they were saying some of the coaches actually supply drugs to the competitors. Now, on a local level, small level, box gyms, I don't know if this is true, but you're always going to see people in the gym that, are a little bit better than everybody else genetically, and you're going to see them excel. And then you're going to see that one guy or two guys or a few guys who are so far ahead of everyone, they look like they're from another planet. They can do things the other ones can't do. They look different than the other ones do, and it's all similar to those three. Well, that's not three genetic specimens from another planet. That's three people that found drugs. That's how it works. And if that's what you're into, fine. Who gives a shit? You know what? If you want to take drugs and do CrossFit, why do I give a shit? You still look good. You're still strong. You still, basically embody what health and fitness is, but you take a little testosterone or whatever the fuck they're taking. Now, if you're taking these drugs and telling people you're not taking these drugs and just telling them fucking work, that's something that I have a problem with, okay? Because CrossFit is supposed to be the ultimate in fitness. When you start adding drugs into it, it becomes much more competitive mentally and physically. And now you start having people that are, the average gym goer who gets in the gym, who's not really that serious about things, who may be introduced to a drug, like let's say it's an oral steroid that is liver toxic. Now let's say this person who doesn't really know much about them or doesn't respect the fact that these are powerful drugs, instead of taking 1 or 2 tablets, they start taking 6 because they want the results faster. Can they harm themselves? Sure, why not? They take 6 of those tablets, a couple Tylenol for the achy joints, and you know what? This weekend I'm having a few beers with my friends. Their fucking liver shuts down and they're in the hospital all fucked up, and they can't figure out what the problem is. It's not like this doesn't happen. This has happened in the past. I've seen it happen. I've had friends that were not serious about the bodybuilding thing and took drugs and still partied and did shit like that, and it wound up being all fucked up because they were mixing all kinds of things that were hard on their body. So, you get the two different aspects. The people who are real serious about it, who are going to be, very, on point and not do those things that'll fuck them up while they're doing the steroids. And then you have the other people that don't really know what they're doing, but they're going to be given the shit from someone else, take it, and possibly fuck themselves up. So I think that awareness in general, you walk into a gym, and I'd say you're going to find at least 3 people that are using some kind of drug. At least 3. And they may not even look like they're using it. They get it offline. They do. I don't know how they get it, but there's going to be 3 of them in there that are using some kind of drugs. And eventually those 3, it'll, as people talk to them, it'll kind of trickle out a little bit, and it kind of spreads. And that's how things get fucked up, and how, basically people get their hands on shit that shouldn't be getting their hands on stuff. So be aware, people. These are just 2 of the latest, things that have popped up in the media that, it's something that I've said all along. Dr. Fred Hatfield told us when we get certified, no elite or professional athlete competes without drugs. Period. None. And he was actually an Olympic lifting trainer for Olympic athletes. So, he had been exposed to it. And when he told me that, I was about 18 years old. That hit so hard because I was a natural bodybuilder at that time, and I had planned on staying natural. That hit so hard that I was like, this guy's got to be fucking wrong. But he was right. And here we are 20 years later, and he's still right. biostraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biostraining.com is the blog, and we're Steroids in the Media again, and we're out.